My name is Amata, and in this Red Gaming Tech video I'm here with the latest from the gaming and the tech world on the last 24 or so hours. Now, if you haven't seen Paul's AMD Computex video, I'd highly recommend you go watch it, especially since I do touch on it a little bit in this video. I'll link it in a pinned comment below this video, so go check it out. So what do I have for you? Well, we're going to kick things off with the Z490 chipset as we are waving a teary Phil's goodbye, and then we're going to revisit Vega 7nm briefly, and then we're going to move over to Valve, who have decided that less curation is the answer for Steam, and then we're going to finish things up with yet more rumours for E3, this time with From Software. But as I said, let's kick things off with the Z490. So you may recall how earlier this year there was all sorts of benchmarks for the Z490. It was all very exciting as we were expecting the chipset to be rolled out onto the market any day. But we are now wishing a goodbye and a press F to pay respects to the Z490 chipset, as it turns out AMD has cancelled or killed the Z490 chipset altogether. Now, where has this news come from, I hear you ask? Well, it has been confirmed to Hardware Lux that AMD decided to kill off the Z490 chipset Game of Thrones style just a few days shortly before Computex 2018. Now, unfortunately, the reasoning wasn't actually given either by AMD or any of the motherboard manufacturers, but apparently it's just due to its high costs. And you might wonder, okay, was there any particular thing that might have driven up this cost of this particular motherboard more than, say, another motherboard? And, well, you might recall that the Z490 was supposed to feature more PCIe lanes in comparison to the X470, and to do this, AMD was going to basically include something called a PEX chip on the Z490 chipset motherboards, and it would have driven up the cost significantly and may have played a key, if not pivotal, role in AMD's decision to just knock the whole thing on the head. Now you might go, okay, so why did they not just release it without this PEX chip? Well, according to leaked documents at least, the Z490 was not really that different in comparison to the X470. So obviously getting rid of one of its major defining features, and you kind of go, okay, why does this motherboard even exist? And then obviously AMD decided that it was not worth continuing with this particular line of thinking. So, yeah. RIP Z490, unfortunately. So, let's revisit Vega 7nm, shall we? So this is kind of just an update to Paul's video. I just kind of wanted to touch on it briefly. Now, I would suggest that you go watch Paul's video either before or after. As I said, it is going to be linked in the pinned comment, so go check it out. So basically, AMD's 7nm RX graphics card for gamers appears from the latest rumours to be releasing either late this year or early next year. Now, this does kind of raise a question mark over your head, as previously Lisa Su's comments during Computex had pointed to the likelihood we'd be seeing RX Vega 7nm, which, as I mentioned, Paul has covered in the video today, along with the 32-core Threadripper. But, given this extra information and the timing of release, it is possible, and I do mean possible, that it might be 7nm Navi, which is Vega's successor. It really does depend on how long AMD wants to be competitive with RX Vega and likely the costs and of course yields of 7nm in early production. At the moment, unfortunately, we can only wait and see. It is very unclear, and the latest rumours have kind of raised a big question mark over proceedings, but I just wanted to kind of hit on that briefly. So let's move over to Valve, shall we? So of course I was being slightly tongue-in-cheek in my intro to this video, but now Valve has basically said they're no longer going to be policing what's on Steam unless it's basically illegal or, quote, straight up trolling. And this comes to us thanks to an official blog post from Valve's Eric Johnson, and basically it's kind of clarifying on Steam's reasoning as to what isn't and is allowed on Steam. And basically said that soon Valve is going to allow, quote-unquote, everything to be published on the Steam store, again, as long as it's not straight-up trolling or actually illegal. Now, unfortunately, trolling is kind of hard to define. Like, what was trolling to one person kind of isn't, and Johnson doesn't actually clarify himself. But to put this in some sort of context, you may recall that the word troll was used to describe that rather horrible school shooting simulator, which was recently pulled from Steam. Now, I do have a direct quote from the blog post here, which of course I will link in the description below this video, and it reads, quote, "We've decided that the right approach is to allow everything onto the Steam store, except for everything that we decide are illegal or straight up trolling. Taking this approach allows us to focus less on trying to police what should be on Steam and more on building those tools to give people control over what kinds of content they see. We already have some tools, but they're too hidden and not nearly comprehensive enough. We're going to enable you to override our recommendation algorithms and hide games containing the topics you're not interested in. So if you don't want to see anime games on your store, you'll be able to make that choice. If you want more games to control exactly what kind of games your kids see when they browse the store, you'll be able to do that. And it's not just players that need better tools either. Developers who build controversial content shouldn't have to deal with harassment because their game exists, and we're building tools and options to support them too. Now, interestingly enough, Johnson also went on to say in the blog post that, contrary to popular belief, and to be honest, this belief is kind of understandable, and I kind of held it myself that Valve automates everything, but Johnson says nope, that's not actually true, and real people do, quote, review the content of every controversial title submitted through Steam. So basically the logic behind Valve's decision here is they're always going to upset somebody when they make the decision on whether or not to allow or disallow a game. And as you would expect, because Valve is a large company filled with lots of people with different opinions of what is offensive and what's controversial and what isn't and what should be allowed and what shouldn't, that sort of thing, Valve itself has had disagreements at what constitutes a controversial topic, such as, quote, politics, sexuality, racism, gender, violence, identity, and so on. The online debates around these topics, and this is a continuing quote by the way, play out inside Valve as well, We don't all agree on what deserves to be on the store, so when we say there's no way to avoid making a bunch of people mad, we're making decisions in this space, we're including our own employees, their families, and their communities in that. Valve shouldn't be the ones deciding this. So basically what they're saying is, it's kind of, they're giving the tools to the player to decide, okay, I don't want to see games about X, I don't want to see games about Y, that sort of thing. Now, again, no illegal stuff, you're not suddenly see, you know, stuff like School Shooter Simulator and all that sort of thing on there, that's, yeah, no. But basically this means that rip any curation on Steam, essentially. Now, at the moment, this statement does go against the current Steam Direct policies, which do allow hate speech, disallow hate speech and pornography, but it seems like they probably just haven't got around to updating that, or perhaps there's more nuance to what's actually happening there than it actually appears from this particular blog post. So this is probably going to go terribly, to be honest with you. I understand where they're coming from. It is quite difficult to reach that balance of, okay, we want to make people happy, but we also want to maintain a clean store. We don't want, illegal content. We don't want, questionable content, that sort of thing. I can understand that, but just throwing up your hands and giving up does not really seem to be the answer, in my personal opinion. So I'm quite disappointed. Like, yes, I don't want the content police, telling me that, Honey Pop can't be on the Steam store, because I thought that whole thing was a little silly, to be honest. But at the same time, I do think curation is needed. We need more curation, not less. But, that's the decision that Valve have made, and yeah, we're going to have to see how that one plays out for them. So, let's finish things up with a brief topic regarding E3 and From Software. So, we've been talking a lot about E3, because of course it is swiftly approaching, like, genuinely, where has the year gone? But, according to the Twitch stream schedule, you'll notice that From Software is confirmed to appear at E3 2018. And you would fully expect them to be showing off their current game, Shadows Die Twice. And according to industry sources of segmentnext.com, From Software is only showing a single game at E3 2018, which is, of course, Shadows Die Twice. So we're not going to be seeing any Souls or Bloodborne or anything like that. They are only showing, at least if these sources are correct, Shadows Die Twice. And it's most likely going to be taking place at the Bandai Namco stage show, which is on the Twitch E3 schedule. Now, I would 110% be down for this, because we basically know nothing about Shadows Die Twice. We've had a lot of rumours, speculation, an alleged leak, that sort of thing. People analysing the very short teaser for the slightest clue. Obviously, there's a lot of talk whether it's Bloodborne 2 or something like Bloodborne, perhaps in the same universe, that sort of thing. But we literally don't know. We just know that Shadows Die Twice, that's a thing. We don't even know if that's what it's called. That's obviously what just everyone is calling it. So I'm curious to see what it is. I'm very, very hyped to see it. Hopefully it's not an exclusive to any platform, because obviously the fact that Bloodborne was exclusive, while brilliant for, Sony and PlayStation fans, I do wish that game would come out on PC. So, hopefully that doesn't happen again, but of course we'll have to wait and see, and not too long at all. So, with that said, that's me done for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.